Yeah, what did you think, Soph, of the book that we're trying?
Yeah, I still like it. I mean, I spent a lot of time with this book the first time that I read it, so there are poems that I think I'll just love forever. There are poems that mm, like I will say where this book ends is not my favorite place in the book, and I feel like in the best books, if it ends well, like if I'm really pumped by the ending poem, like it's usually a pretty good book. I don't think this book ends in its strongest place.
Well, yeah, that's interesting because I did sense kind of a shift in section three of the book, but I guess we'll get to that. Uh,
So yeah, it's split into four sections, which I didn't really realize until I reread it. I thought it was just three, but it's four.
well, the
I
last one
think
is just one long poem by
the
itself.
last one
Yeah.
is just one long poem by itself, and that is the poem that I do not think is like the strongest poem in the collection that it could have ended on. Like even some of, it doesn't have you don't have to end with your absolute best poem, but
Right.
it should be one of your best poems.
Yeah, that's kind of a trend. Not like a trend, but I don't know if it's just like a trend or like a trap that we writers tend to fall into with the endings of things.
What
It's
ending on like your strongest on one of
no
your strong
ending on something that's just a little lackluster. I remember thinking
Oh
this
yeah,
for a
yeah.
couple poetry books that I've read, where like you're just blazing through because it's great, and then you get to that last poem, and a lot of times it just maybe it crumbles a little bit, or it's just doesn't finish as strong as the rest of the book had been going. But I don't want to name names because we're only going over this one book here.
I
But
mean, yeah, I felt that way about I felt like this poem was like this collection was a little less good just because of where it ended. But overall, I really like this. I think it's really, I mean, I think it's wildly original in its imagery. Um,
it is, yeah.
but I do largely read it as an ars poetica,
Yeah,
like
you.
as a book about the art of poetry.
Yeah, and I think when you said that to me, it's definitely the most satisfying way to view it. Like it's the most satisfying way to read this book, I think.
I'm genuinely uncertain of how else to read it, and maybe that's a problem I have. I
Well,
think also the first time I read this, I was looking specifically for that. But
well, because it is a lot about creation. Like the first theme I wrote down in this, I wrote motherhood, giving birth, children. There's breasts and breast milk everywhere.
there's so much tits and babies.
Teats. The sweet,
Um,
sweet nectar of breast milk pouring,
Sometimes the tits are stone tits.
spraying,
Um,
spraying
Sometimes the
stones.
tits are filled with like rotten milk.
Heavy with milk, yeah. Veiny. Yeah, there's no veiny description, but yeah.
They're they're pretty much never sexy though. I don't think
Yeah, it is a sterilized kind of thing, but like, yeah, and it
I
goes
wouldn't even
along.
call it sterilized. It's just like supposed to be, it's always both like sort of, well, she has like this weird grotesque quality
Which I'm
to
there
her writing
for.
where
Yeah.
everything is like simultaneously beautiful and rotting in turns.
Such is life. That's where I said like it does shift in section three, where it gets. I think it gets a lot more sexual in section three.